Good morning. Welcome to today's Caring for the Caregiver. Our topic today will be caregiving while raising children. As a reminder, you can enter any questions into the chat box, and the video is being recorded and may be found on the Community Hospice YouTube channel. I would like to introduce Eddie Mae Buell. Eddie Mae is an associate social worker. She is married with 2 children. She loves working with youth and adults in mental health and substance abuse. She is new to grief, has her ASW number, and she received her master's degree at Stanislaus State. Eddie Mae, whenever you're ready.
Hello, I'm Eddie Mae. I'm about to share my screen, okay? So bear with me just 1 second. Okay. So this presentation's about caring for the caregiver. And it's while you're raising children, which is very difficult. It's already hard enough to just raise your own children, and caregiving in the same house while raising children could be very, very hard to navigate. What is caregiving? Caregiving is the activity or profession of regularly looking after a child or a sick, elderly, or disabled person. The things that you would do is like bathing and grooming, laundry and helping with dressing, food, shopping and prep, light housekeeping or deep cleaning, managing medications, transportation, mobility assistance, companionships, and emotional support. Caregiving is filled with rewards and joy, but it can also be overwhelming and exhausting. And you do these things for your own kids as well. What is raising children? These can be extended by lengths, both categories. These are just brief little comments about what raising children is and what caregiving can be, right? It can be a lot more to each individual. So parenting or child rearing promotes and supports the physical, emotional, social, spiritual, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood and beyond that, right? Parenting refers to the intricacies of raising a child and not exclusively for a biological relationship. A lot of things that are incorporated: time management, it's a huge element, feeding, clothing, loving, caring, and bathing. All those are essentials. Those are a daily thing. Having a safe place to live and grow, right? That can even be hard to manage sometimes with the way the economy can go up and down and prices, and it can be very difficult. Finding the right way to value and guide our children through life and its hard endeavors. Even as adults, we struggle with these things. Like, we're always learning, and the world's always going to be, always take every opportunity to just remain teachable. It's the best way to be. Otherwise, it can be kind of hard. How do you care for someone, and how do you parent at the same time? It is difficult to answer this question because everyone is different, and the amount of stress someone can take on also depends on the individual. It can be hard enough just to take care of yourself and your own family and maintain a healthy flow within the confinements of the home. So it can be hard just to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and that's hard enough to manage. Like, that's totally a full plate. But when you add on caregiving for a parent, for anyone, it could be a grandparent, it could be a child, it could be anyone like that you're caregiving for, right? It just takes on a whole element. It just overfills the plate. Everything's always overflowing because there's always so much to do. So kind of setting your expectations where it's not so overwhelming. Like, allow yourself to know that your house might not be as clean as you always want it, or like, just give yourself room to breathe. Be realistic about expectations, create healthy boundaries, find ways to take care of your family, and most importantly, yourself. Be patient with yourself and know that things are going to be more stressful. So, like, giving yourself space, giving yourself that room to breathe, and letting yourself know that this is going to be hard, and being present in the moment, because it can be very overwhelming and taxing and exhausting, and You might feel like you can't do it. There's going to be days where you feel like you did a great job, and then there's going to be other days where you just feel like you can't do it anymore. And those are very normal, like, feelings. It's very important though to make sure that you're talking to someone, finding those supports, having the family, always communicating with each other. Those things can make the biggest difference in your journey. Um, Finding support, right? Having healthy support outlets is important. So, like, whether it's just, you don't even have to be caretaking. If you're taking care of somebody, this is definitely something you should be doing, is like having support groups, therapy, activity, exercise. Self-care is essential. When you're on an airplane and they say that, you want to put on your oxygen mask first, because, like, that's when you're going to be able to help other people around you. If you don't put your own oxygen mask on, you're not going to be able to help that many people, right? Because you're going to run out of air, and you're probably trying to, put on other people's oxygen masks and feel like they're more important, and you can't, like, put on your own. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself to keep taking care of those other people you care for. So family is huge, friends, support groups, counseling, therapy. Activities can be simple. You can go on walks, you can maybe play board games, Uno, anything you find decompressing, anything you find joy in, right? It could be scrapbooking, it can be crochet, anything. Self-care, be taking a bath, lighting a candle, giving yourself 5 minutes of deep breathing, going outside and just being outside in the quiet for a minute, giving yourself a moment to just breathe. You gotta take in those moments, because those moments are going to be what you savor. That's probably what's going to keep you going, is just those little moments, because it can be so overwhelming. Love yourself where you're at. Tell yourself you're good enough. Tell yourself you're doing the best you can. You're a human. We're all human. We're all fallible to make mistakes, and we all can, critique ourselves and, say that we didn't do enough, or say that you just, positive affirmations, positive self-talk. That's another thing that's gonna, that can make or break somebody. Communicate what you need. That's important too. A lot of people find themselves, when they're caregiving, they get burnt out. They might have other family members and they get resentful because the other family members aren't helping, and they're not a part of the process, and that can be overwhelming. And the communication isn't there, and there's just a lot of families struggle with this. It's very common, but there's also families that do come together and they find a way. There are support groups. There's specific types of support groups that I listed here, but there's other things you can go on Google and search, and I would recommend, you know, going on Google and searching things, like, because there's a lot of things that can be found. Or even if you go to some of these places and you talk to some of the people that work there, the people that work within these places, like NAMI, the Alzheimer's Dementia Support Group Center. They have weekly meetings, like group support meetings, where you can go there and everyone can sit around and talk, and you learn a lot about, if you're taking care of somebody that has dementia or Alzheimer's. These people all come together, and they're caretakers, caregivers, and they discuss, like, things that they've struggled with. And and I do a lot of counseling, so I counsel some people that are caregivers. And one of the common threads when it comes to the struggles of, Alzheimer's and dementia, is like having to always sort out somebody else's life, like having to find routines, like you're kind of like there, and you're orchestrating their life, right? Or you're trying to make sure that they don't go missing, or they might go through sundowning. I didn't know what sundowning was until one of my people that I talked to told me about it, and I kind of got myself a little more educated on it. There's a lot of things that these groups can kind of bring, and then they can bring resources like care links and person-centered care, like PCC. you have to qualify for those programs, but it's definitely nice to be able to know about it. And, once you know about something, you can find more information, tap into the resources. And, they might have, someone that can come in and help out for a few hours a week, like to kind of give you a little reprieve, where you can go for a walk or you can go take care of yourself. A lot of the time, if you're caregiving, most people don't take care of themselves because they're taking care of other people, and that's been their main focus. And it's really hard to find time to like go to doctor's appointments for themselves. And then especially if you have kids on top of that, then you're really, really, putting your kids and then the person you're caring for, you're like they're your main priority, and then like you could put on the back burner, and then as the years go by, your self-care and all those like all the doctor's appointments and all those things that like you might have done or you were thinking about doing, but you just put it off because you got so busy, they creep up and they can cause health problems. And a lot of the time when someone's caregiving, their health like declines because like it's so stressful. Like when you're exhausted and you're tapped out all the time, it's very like stress is a very hard thing to battle, and it can cause a lot of health problems. So there has to be some kind of balance. So there's some information here. There's a 24-hour line and a text number that gives support also for this dementia and Alzheimer's. You can go on to like you can go on to NASW, National Association of Social Workers, and they have educational seminars on lots of different things. There's a lot of different places you can kind of go to, and just looking for, seminars. They might even have, caregiving seminars where it's like a whole day allocated to, teaching about caregiving and like having, like a retreat. Like we did have a retreat earlier this year for caregivers, and it was a pretty awesome like event, right? So those things can be decompressing, de-stressing, like giving you a breath of fresh air. Those things are very, very important for you to succeed and to be able to like live a full life. And just to be kind of like functioning, because it's hard to function when you're dealing with all these moving parts. It's hard. So there's person-centered care. So you have to qualify, you have to be eligible to receive that. But you could look more into it, and if you have questions, just put it in the Dropbox and we can get back to you. NAMI is the National Association of Mental Health, right? So they have a lot of groups. They have a lot of groups for mental health. They have a lot of groups for if you have somebody in the house that you're taking care of that has mental health issues. They have education on that. They have groups on that. Virtual groups. I'm pretty sure they have in-person groups again now since COVID's kind of gone down. Parenting classes. So like if you feel like you're struggling and you feel like you need like support, there are parenting classes. You can go to church. Church has a lot of groups and stuff, spiritual groups, meditation. Or if you need to see a psychiatrist or any of those kinds of things that you think you should tap into, like they can be very helpful. How to support caregivers. So like even in the family, in the confinements of the family, you're going to have kids maybe that are older, younger. You'll have a spouse, or maybe you'll have sisters, siblings. It could be any dynamic, right? So like, if you have people around you that ask for help, they can help with errands, chores, and other tasks just to free up a little bit of your time. Promote emotional and social support, always like being there for each other, or having a friend you can call, or some kind of outlet, negotiating time to check in, make sure that you get a little bit of time for yourself. I know it seems impossible, but there's got to be a way to, get some time for yourself. Make sure they're managing their own healthcare needs. So like, the caregiver should definitely be taking care of themselves. It's like the oxygen mask again, like on the plane, make sure that you're putting your own oxygen mask on before you attempt to put on other people's, because you're not going to be able to sustain, you're not going to be able to take care of those people the way you want to, and it's totally short term. Like if you want to last longer, you got to have your own oxygen mask on, you got to make sure you're breathing. So help to create and manage a care plan for the person they cared for. It's awesome to be able to like have a routine, regimen, that kind of thing. Like, let's say you're gonna have somebody come in, and like say there's a somebody that's gonna come in and help out a little bit, like a couple hours a week, or say Carolyn's hook those services up or something like that. You can utilize that, and you could have like an agenda on the refrigerator saying like, oh, this time I give this person this medication, or like you have a routine, and like you have it written down where it's like it's easy to communicate the needs. Like, so if somebody else needed to come in and like relieve you, or some emergency happened, or just something happened, where you have something written down, and it's like it's kind of an easier transition. It's not just like, oh, this person's coming in and they have no idea what to do, and then you're more than overwhelmed, like, because you feel bad leaving, you're like, this isn't going to work, like. So it's really good to have like an agenda written down, and like kind of having that, just in case if something were to happen, you have something in place where it's like it's sustainable. Like somebody could come in and help out. They'd be like, okay, I can make sure this person eats, or I got to make sure they go to this doctor's appointment, all these kinds of things. And even knowing like, say it's a harder situation where the person has certain triggers, like, talking to the people, writing those things down, knowing like what kind of causes bumps in the schedule, what kind of causes this person to I'm more referring to dementia and Alzheimer's, but there's a lot of other things too, right? It could be cancer, it could be, you name it, it could be anything. But like just, having those notes down, having something to kind of look back to. Maybe journaling would be good too, because there might be things that you didn't know previously that you found out today, like, oh, there was a new medication and it seems like there's a rash, so there might be an allergic reaction, or, just things like that. Anything like that could help. Invest time in researching what health insurance can provide as far as caregivers and nurses. So it's always good to tap into your insurance and kind of see what your resources are, what options do you have, because like you doing it on your own is very valiant, and but it's exhausting, and you need a break, and you're going to be able you need to be able to breathe and to recuperate so that you can do it again. Managing time, that could be very, very hard, right? Children and adults do better with a routine and schedule. So do like patients that have dementia and Alzheimer's, they do better with schedules. Communication's key, letting everyone know what's going on, maybe having like your Google calendar linked to your family. So like you guys can put appointments, and it's all synced. Unless you have the old school calendar, which that's great too. And you can write, appointments down on the calendar, and everybody could be like, hey, like this is the calendar. Everybody's got to check it, or let me know if you have something going on. That way things can be coordinated and the flow can be easier. When you make appointments, like if you have things to do, like you make appointments instead of just like, oh, flying by the seat of your pants, right? It's good to make appointments. So then you have more control over like what's going on during the day, and you have more of a idea of what time you're going to be doing things. You can even make appointments for yourself, like for self-care, like I am doing this on this day for this much time, and I need somebody else to take care of this person, or take care of the kids, or me and the kids are going to go do this. Like, it's good to make appointments for yourself, like put yourself in there. You're just as important as everyone else is on that. So budget for expenses. That's very important too. Budgeting, because I know everything can get pretty expensive. Tap into resources in the community. Talk to others about your struggles. It's very important. Like there might be a counselor, or if you go to a support group, that could be a good outlet, or just talking to a family member or a friend, that works wonders as well. Find fun activities to do together, whether it's for the children or for the person who's being cared for. Maybe they like playing bingo, or like maybe you guys want to play Uno or Sorry, or like any kind of board game, or it could be drawing, it could be coloring, maybe reading a book, anything that kind of like brings a collective together where you're spending some quality time together. Those activities are always great, and most people appreciate that kind of time spent. Self-care for caregivers and parents. Take time for yourself and your own needs. Eat a well-balanced diet. It's really important to eat healthy, eat good food, because like a lot of the stuff that we eat can make us like super tired, grumpy, can make us like just diet has a lot to do with how you feel too, right? So exercise by taking short walks daily, at least 3 times a week. They encourage 150 minutes, at least over 7 days. So ideally, like at least 3 to 4 times a week, 30-minute increments. It'd be good to do 30 minutes every day, but like you can do whatever you can do. Listen to guided relaxation recordings or relaxing music. You can listen to meditation songs, or like, the white noise. I don't know, there's some people that like white noise, or like the storm sound. You might have like a noise maker that you might like. It might bring some, relief. But then there's music, that just regular music. You can listen to audiobooks, you can read, you can listen to like TED Talks. TED Talks are very inspirational, and they can help someone kind of like focus in on finding a solution rather than living in the problem, because there's a lot of problems, and I know like it's hard sometimes because like you want to kind of sit in the problem at times because it can be overwhelming. But it's always good to stay proactive. We're human though, we're not always going to be like that all the time, but like it makes it easier when we are, right? Schedule short rest periods between activities. So if you just need like 5 to 10 minutes to yourself, make that happen for yourself somehow. Like make it happen so like you can still function and still be okay. Set limits for what you can do. If it's something you obviously can't do and you've taken on way too much and it's like I can't do it, like you can say no. Practice saying no, like, or have somebody else do it, because it's like they're gonna keep overloading you until you say no. um let's see, safety is really important. This is another thing that comes up a lot with having children and like having them in the same household that you're caretaking for a patient or a family member. And it's valiant and rewarding to be a caregiver and a parent. However, it can become challenging to keep the family and caregiver safe. So depending on what's going on, if let's say there's a family member like grandma, grandpa, maybe they have Alzheimer's, and maybe they're starting to like get to a point where they're getting kind of aggressive about certain things. And it's not their fault, and it's not like how they are per se, but like that's kind of what comes along with the progression of the disease, right? So after they've had it for so long, sometimes, not all the time, everyone's different, but like sometimes they can become more aggressive, and it becomes like a risk, a safety hazard, or like risky to have your children in the same home. Like I had one person I was doing counseling with, share some stories about these kinds of things and like making decisions whether the children, like how to keep her children safe and how to keep like her family together. And there was a lot of just, it's hard. So like in that, all the Alzheimer's and dementia support group was very helpful, because they had a lot of pointers, and there was like extra support that that person was able to tap into that kind of brought a little more relief. So it's very common. There may be times when it's no longer safe to keep the person being cared for in the same home with the children or the family. This sometimes happens with dementia, Alzheimer's, like we were talking about. there are many different circumstances where this can be the case, and it's not unique or out of the ordinary when it comes to caregiving and parenting. Some alternative options can be nursing homes, assisted living, boarding cares, health aides, many other options. I know a lot of those have to do with insurance and cost, so it's not like the easy way, because a lot of families probably would have went more in that directions if they had the finances to do so. There would be a lot of resources available if there was, it didn't cost so much money. It's very expensive in those places, and not all insurances cover those kinds of options, so it can be really challenging. If you have any questions, just drop them in the box, or you can just let them know. So thank you so much for joining me in this presentation, Caring for the Caregiver and Home Caregiving Resources. If you have any questions, you can always call Community Hospice. We do have hope counseling available. We have bereavement support. There's a lot of things, but that's also tied to you have to be eligible for certain things, not for hope counseling. Hope counseling is open. If that's something that you would want to enroll in, there you'd have to call and see what the process of getting in is. There would be insurance and all of that if we're partnered, and then it's good to get counseling because it can be very, very helpful and a good outlet. So thank you for listening in, and I hope that your journey continues on and it goes well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eddie Mae. If anybody needs additional resources, you can contact us here at 209-578-6300, or you can visit our website at hospiceheart.org. Eddie Mae, for one of the slides, you mentioned activities, and I just wanted to mention, like you were saying, that for me personally, music helps, just as far as like a way to decompress.
Yeah, music is great.
And it's something that you can have in the background as you're doing stuff, so it might just like lift the mood a little bit.
Yeah, you can even get your people in the house to like start dancing. Who
Or
knows?
sing along if it's something that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And then I had a question here in the chat box. Are the support groups free to caregivers, the ones that you listed, or is it something that you need to pay for?
So the dementia and the Alzheimer's support groups are free. From everything that I've understood, they are. And if you're going through grief too, there's Jessica's house, and then like there's community hospice group, children's grief department. So like depending on what's going on, because there could be, you could have been caregiving for more than one person, and one person could have passed away. Like that happens a lot too, where you're still a caregiver, but like someone passes away, and you have all these elements going on in the household, right?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
want to invite you all to our next presentation, which will be on August 10th at 11 a.m. And the topic for that day will be in-home caregiving resources. This video will be available on our Community Hospice YouTube channel. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.